Good Sunday morning, everybody. It's December the 7th, and this is sort of a new thing I'm going to do from time to time, just thinking about political stuff and doing it on video versus just typing it all out. So today I'm talking about three things, uh, one main topic that I'll get to at the end, and two minor topics before that. So go ahead and get started on those three. Now, you'll notice there is text below this video, so I'll be referring to that, especially for topic number two. But let's get into the first topic. Topic number one is a quick recap of the Tennessee 7th Congressional District race. And the question surrounds what role does ideology, how much does ideology matter? And does it matter as much as people think it seems to think it does? Because there's lots of argument and discussion about whether the candidate Afton Bain was too progressive for her Tennessee district, and that's why she didn't make it all the way to winning the race. So let's talk about that. My short answer to that question about does ideology matter as much as people think is no. That's an easy answer, right? My longer answer is more complicated, so let me go into that. Okay, in this election, of course, Afton Bain was accused by some, both before and after and during, for being too progressive, for having people like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez make an appearance for her and that sort of thing, and that doomed her campaign. People who argue this point, whether they're arguing it from the left or from the middle, uh, are simply arguing something that they've already made up their mind about, and they don't have any objective evidence to back this up. Because getting objective evidence to prove something like that is incredibly difficult to do, and it takes a long time to sort of parse through things. It takes an ability to do that most people don't have. So people are simply arguing what they already believe in when they make these arguments about being too centrist or being too progressive or being too whatever. Um, the primary concern that we as a party and its supporters should have is, are we organized enough? Not where we fall on the ideological spectrum. Are we organized enough? That's the key question. Until we can honestly answer yes to that question, all these questions about ideology don't matter. So stop worrying about what Republicans are going to say and do to us and their propaganda machine. Their propaganda machine is going to call us all socialist and communist or whatever anyway, no matter how centrist or no matter how progressive we are. So I don't see that as being a concern at all. We just have to be what we think it's right for us to be and stop worrying about them. We have to worry about us, and are we preparing ourselves well enough to win these races that are becoming within our grasp to reach. Normally, Tennessee '07, which is much like Georgia 14, would not be something within our grasp. But suddenly, those kind of districts are becoming within our grasp, which leads me to the next two topics. Topic two being the special congressional election that's coming up to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the question is, who has stated they're running for Congress so far? Perhaps a better way of wording that would be, who the hell hasn't stated that they're running for Congress so far? You can look on the text for this one. I put most of the answer there, so I'm not going to talk about this one much on the video. I just want to point out a few things. Uh, there's very few of those Republican candidates. There's 13 Republican candidates who have stated so far that they're going to run. That doesn't mean they're actually going to. They've stated it so far. The two that potentially have the most, I guess, oomph behind them, perhaps, are Colton Moore, who we know here from Dade County, and the former CD chair, Jim Tully. Uh, Brian Kemp Republicans are going to most likely rally around Tully because he's a party guy, and Brian Kemp hates Colton Moore anyway, so he doesn't want Colton Moore to win. In fact, I would just say Brian Kemp had his pick. He probably would pick Sean over Colton Moore. But Brian Kemp he's going to set the election date. He's going to set it in the way that he thinks works for his Republicans the best. So we don't know yet when that's going to happen. But a lot of those candidates are very young. They're very green. They're very new. We got three or four of them in the 20s. One of them hasn't even turned 25 yet. He will before the election. So we'll have to wait and see. You can look at the list, and we'll find out more about these candidates as we go along. But That's just something that people are curious about, and it's hard to keep up with. So you have the most up to date list I have available in the text. And now we can move on to the main topic, which is the role of the party in primaries. And the main question is to endorse or not to endorse. So let me give you a little background on this one and why it's something that we need to concern ourselves with as a party and its members. Not too long ago, the Democratic Party of Georgia added two bylaws that are directly on target for this topic. And I'll read the first one. They're two almost identically worded, but the first one is the one that most applies here. The Democratic Party and its county committees may endorse or oppose a Democratic candidate in any federal or state election upon receiving approval from the elected members of a county committee and two-thirds approval from the state executive committee, followed by two-thirds approval from the state committee. The state executive committee shall issue rules as to procedure for obtaining permission to endorse or oppose a candidate and grounds for such exception. And again, there's a second bylaw that deals with local elections that says practically the same thing. So, okay, so why do I bring this up? In this special congressional election to come, according to the bylaw, our county committee, like here in Dade, can choose to endorse or oppose a Democratic candidate if it wishes. We only have one Democratic candidate right now. And as long as that stays that way, the point is kind of moot. The concern is in this wide open field of a jungle primary where everybody, as we're seeing on the Republican side, can leap in, even people who have no clue, essentially, or have a chance or money or anything. What do we do about that as a committee and as a party? Do we want to just passively wait and see what happens, which is what we typically do in a regular primary? Or because of the nature of the jungle primary, do we need to take an additional step and just go ahead and say we're behind this guy, in this case, Sean Harris, because right now he's the only candidate, but let's say two or three other Democratic candidates wanted to pop in as well. Now, according to that bylaw, in order to endorse, they put in a fairly cumbersome process that may make the whole bylaw kind of moot in the first place. Trying to get the state executive committee and the state committee to all meet and then get two-thirds approval is not easy. I'll just put it that way, okay? But also there's something else that's lurking in the background here. So let me take you back a few months ago to this thing that happened within the party that has left a mark on everybody in regards to this issue. Before the Public Service Commission primary had taken place, this was back earlier this year, in the early part of this year, the state executive committee, then led by acting chair Matt Wilson, this was the period between when Nikema Williams had stepped down and Charlie Bailey had assumed had become the chair. It pushed for an endorsement for candidate Daniel Blackman in the District 3 Public Service Commission race. Two-thirds of the executive committee agreed with that, and the motion passed. It was sent to the state committee a few weeks later when they were electing Bailey to be our new chair, and it ran into a lot of resistance there. And eventually the whole proposal was tabled, just dropped. So an endorsement ultimately of Daniel Blackman was not made. And we just carried on with the primary, which is what a lot of us, including myself, thought we should have done, because in the primary, it was a normal primary, more or less normal primary, without an incumbent or without any particular reason to point a finger at one person and say that person is the best, because we had three very qualified people, including Daniel, Peter and Robert Jones, Peter Hubbard and Robert Jones, and four candidates who were politically all viable. So why should we point at one? That's what some of us were thinking, okay? A few weeks after the state committee met and failed to pass that, and the primary had gotten underway, of course, Daniel Blackman was disqualified from the primary for failing to establish residency in District 3. He actually lived in another district, and a judge and the Secretary of State tossed him from the race. And so after that, Peter Hubbard went on to win the primary and runoff, and then went on to win the general election in a blowout, as we know, just a few weeks ago. Everyone within the state party ever since then has been thinking, Mother of God, thank God we didn't do that. We dodged a self-inflicted bullet there. Now, no one at the state party level is eager to endorse anyone. And so, not only is that the sentiment that's built in now in the wake of the almost disastrous endorsement of Daniel Blackman that could have happened, the executive committee also has not issued a set of criteria for when to use this endorsement process. So we're kind of just in limbo here. We being now the committees of the 14th CD in this jungle primary that's coming up. The bylaw is still there. We can still legally endorse Sean Harris, which is who we're talking about here. But we don't have the set of criteria that we're supposed to have to guide us from the state. And we have that sort of built-in resistance a lot of people have to endorsing anybody because they think it's unfair. They think we're trying to put our finger on the scale, that sort of thing. So what do we do? That's the question I have that I'm seeking input from all of you. If things stay the way they are, and Sean Harris is the only Democratic candidate, then the question sort of answers itself. But what if he's not? What if somebody at the last minute, somebody who barely has enough money to even qualify, which is what a lot of these Republican candidates find themselves in. I seriously doubt some of them have $5,000 to qualify, but we'll see. Without guidance, what should we do? Should we endorse early? Basically, our two choices are this. Number one, keep doing what everyone in theory is doing right now, which is officially nothing, while unofficially we're keeping a lookout on prospective Democratic candidates and trying to divert them into other races. If they want to run for something, run for state house, run for state senate, run for commissioner, run for something else. We need to keep ourselves unified behind one candidate in this race. That gives us the optimum chance. So that's what we're doing right now. Unofficially, we're kind of doing that, while officially we're saying we're staying out of it, which of course we're not. Number two, the other option is that we go ahead and just state our endorsement for Sean Harris now. That way our committee and its resources can just begin to promote him now. And even if somebody else jumps in the race, we don't have to worry about it. We're just going to move on with Sean Harris, because anybody else that jumps in the race at this point is almost certainly not going to have a chance. They won't have enough money unless they're just super wealthy and can self-fund. They're not going to be able to keep up with Sean and his fundraising that he's already done. In fact, we had a second candidate not too long ago that was going to run for Congress, Clarence Blaylock. But once the first filings came out and the money raised was shown, Clarence decided to drop out because he realized he couldn't keep up and compete with Sean. And so now Clarence is running for labor commissioner, and he's endorsed Sean publicly for Congress. So we had a second candidate who was probably in a better position than most people would be in, if not everybody else. And he decided, hey, I can't do this. Sean's the guy. So those are our two choices. Should our committee just go ahead and endorse Sean and get it over with and state the obvious, I guess you could say, at the risk of maybe alienating some people who think we're trying to put our fingers on the scale? Or should we just continue to this sort of shadow game that we're playing, where we're not officially endorsing anybody, but we kind of unofficially are? What do you think? That's why I'm doing this. What do you think? I want to hear from people who are out there in the county, in the district, in the state, because we have people across the state who tune into this. What do you guys think about this? What should our state party do? Should they go ahead and finish that procedure so we have clarity? But really what I'm asking is, should our committee endorse Sean Harris? Go ahead and just do it, or should we not? And what do you think about that process? Give me your thoughts, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, and have a great Sunday.